Welcome to We Have That Spider-Man at Home. I'm on-brand Rachel.
Don't do that.
Why not? I think it's
This
very
is
appropriate for this episode.
it's not. Where in this movie was Spider-Man? Point him out.
Nowhere, but that was the point.
No, it wasn't the point.
Yes,
And
it
I'm on
was.
Brent Gamage, and this is our off-brand podcast. The only podcast to brave into the Amazon to find a spider. Each week, we play Russian roulette with our success to spin a wheel to find the genre of next week's podcast. This week, we're attempting to find art of pop culture, which is a movie, and we did Madam Web. Madam Web. We both watched it. I watched it twice.
It's the greatest movie of all time.
I mean, I did watch it twice.
Yeah, I can't believe you watched that twice. I don't know if I will ever watch this film again.
So, I watched it twice because I watched it the first time and I was incapable of writing anything down. So I had to watch it a second time in order to take notes.
I gotta be honest, I sort of had the same experience, probably for different reasons because you know more about the Spider-Man universe lore and these characters than I do, but as it started, I was just like, what the fuck?
Knowing Spider-Man is barely a factor in this.
I kind of figured based off of the entire fucking thing.
So, something that you might not know about me because I don't really talk about it is I'm kind of a big Spider-Man fan.
What?
Yeah, I know. I don't really wear it on my sleeve.
Yeah,
except for my shirts when I wear those, a lot of them.
And your literal tattoo on your arm.
Yeah, I always forget about that. I do love Spider-Man though, in all of his forms. I liked the Amazing Spider-Man at the Andrew Garfield before people started liking him again. Because when the movies came out, everybody shat on him, and I loved him. But then, after No Way Home, everybody's like, it was a really good Spider-Man. No, you weren't.
It's because everybody hopped
that.
on Spider-Man's dick, and then suddenly they were really into Spider-Man, so they had to then backpedal and be really into all iterations of Spider-Man.
I've always been on Spider-Man's dick. I'm his baddest dick rider. Anyway.
His baddest dick rider. You sound like an older person trying to connect with the youth.
I'm hip. I know what Spider-Man's penis color really is.
I'm hick. I can't even. Let's move on.
But Spider-Man. I love Spider-Man. I love the Raimi movies. I love them less than the people who dick ride the Raimi movies. That's the one of Tobey Maguire.
Yes.
That fandom is weird. I don't know why you guys are so into it.
Yeah, they're very simpy.
They're gatekeepy. That's probably
that's
the
what
least. Yeah, the Raimi movies are probably the least Spider-Man movies, at least until this year. But
of all time until now. Thanks, Madam Web, for upgrading Tobey Maguire.
It was the least. It was the least Spider-Man movies, but that fandom always made it seem like it was the only Spider-Man, and that it was the gold standard of what Spider-Man should be, and that's not correct. No,
at all.
Organic webbing is dumb.
It's gross.
The fucking the zoom in on his fingers and he has tiny hairs and that's how he climbs. That's not how Spider-Man climbs walls, by the fucking way. I don't want to make this a podcast of me shitting on the Raimi movies because I didn't hate them.
You also still like them. But also, yeah, again, least Spider-Man movie up until now.
I almost want to disagree because there's something that I don't like in Spider-Man, and I don't know if it's me being
Spider-Man?
the old man yelling at the clouds, but recently in the comics too, but recently it's been kind of iffy. Not the Into the Spider-Verse shit. That shit fucking slaps. The games are great. Keep doing those. But can we stop having Sony Spider-Verse movies that don't have Spider-Man in them?
Yeah, I don't... Or have, no connection.
Well, no, they all have connection.
But, kind of?
Because it's the villain movies. There's Venom. There's the Venom 2 with Carnage, and then there's also Morbius. That one is famously bad.
This is also true.
Yeah, but I actually grew up being a big fucking Morbius fan, and it really broke my heart when that movie came out. But my therapist is actually having a paper published on it called PTMD. Post-traumatic Morbius disorder. Also, later this year, the Craven movie is coming out, and that's been pushed back like 4 fucking times. I don't
So
know.
you're gonna have PTKD?
I never liked Craven. That's right. I said it. Craven's not one of my favorite villains. He's down
Seems
on
like
the
an
list.
odd choice for a villain, to be honest. I think he just came from a time when we really needed to tell people that poaching was wrong.
Yeah.
But he also wears furs, so like I don't really know where we land there.
Well, he wears the furs of the animals that he's hunted. Like, if anybody's allowed to wear and hunt, it's Craven, because he's like, I'm gonna do it with my bare hands, and it's like, all right, Queen, you do you.
Yeah, if you can fight off a lion with your bare fists, you probably deserve to wear.
There's some iterations where Craven is like a mutated lion person too. That's a weird one.
What?
But don't get me started. So I bring those up because it's a recent trend that Sony keeps doing, that Sony keeps making these Spider-Man-less Spider-Man movies. Some people would say that maybe they're trying to build a cinematic universe for like the Sony Spider-Man verse or whatever, like Sinister Six franchise. I don't think so. I think it's a symptom of what's really happening. I think that it's because Sony needs to use their Spider-Man license because they have the rights to live-action Spider-Man movies. However, they're not using Spider-Man because they are currently with like a deal with Marvel. So Spider-Man's in the MCU, and therefore anytime they want to use Spider-Man, they have to like consult the MCU fuckers to make sure that it stays within continuity. So Sony has a lot less freedom when it comes to shitting out these Spider-Man movies. And so they're like, well, what are we not using? Madam Web. That sounds good.
What are we not using that's spider adjacent?
What I'm getting at is that Madam Web is a bad movie.
Oh, it's so bad. It easily has my most favorite openings of all time, though.
I mean,
And here's why. So there basically we open and it's like Peruvian Amazon 1973. There's a lady taking pictures of webs, and then they immediately start talking about a supercharged spider and oh, mythical spider people. But we
now,
call them the spider people in Spanish, and they
Las
punish
Arañas.
evildoers.
Yeah,
And
so
it's fucking dumb.
really quickly, before we actually get into the movie, is we're spoiling this movie. There's nothing you could do about it, but you'll probably thank us.
Honestly, us retelling it to you is probably going to be better than watching it.
I'm going to be spoiling it in a fourth dimensional way too, meaning like whenever something comes up that actually exists, like I'm going to be talking about the comics and further into
hell
what
yeah.
each thing means and each character as we meet them. Because
Excited.
all of this does in some way exist in the Spider-Man universe. Yes, so we do open Peruvian Amazon 1973. And yes, there's a lot of shots of glistening spiderwebs in this movie. Every chance they get, oh, there's a broken window. It looks kind of like a spider web. We get it. We get it. It's a Spider-Man movie.
For me, it's the extremely unsubtle foreshadowing throughout the entire film.
God, there's no such thing as fucking subtlety in this movie. Everything's ham-fisted. Everything is exposition. I've come all this way to look for the spider because the spider has this venom that's going to cure the toxins of the world, and I need that spider for that reason.
And I am a bad guy, and I sound immediately sinister and strange as I get mad at you for taking too long to find the spider.
Let's talk about him for a second.
Can we
because
talk about how I don't know where this man is from, but even his accent sounds fake.
Yes, it does. So this is Tahir Rahim. He's French, but he definitely has a really, really bad Spanish accent. It's definitely
so bad. Like, obviously he's going for Spanish because they're in Peru, but it's terrible.
Yeah, it's not good. It's really not good. But you'll notice several times, I mean, the dialogue is really bad, which really doesn't help because nobody was like, can we get another take on that, please? Not a single fucking person in that studio said that.
They went, hey, first time out of the gate, and also, are you brand new at acting? Can you just come off the street and say this? Because it was
Can you just read this line word for word, but also in your car?
Yeah.
Great. Like, he sounds like Tommy Wiseau, like from The Room.
I don't know what the fuck that means.
Oh, Rachel, another time.
Wait. No. Sorry, I do know what the room is. Yeah.
It's
He
like
does. He does.
I did not hit her. That's exactly
Yes.
what this actor sounds like throughout this movie. By the
Yep.
way, he is mostly dubbed over himself. Like there's many times where like he'll like his mouth is like kind of moving and
Oh
the
yeah.
words don't match.
I
It
didn't
feels like a
understand the
foreign
fucking
movie.
point. Like
I
I
do.
guess I sort of get in the dream sequency parts what they're going for, but there was definitely multiple times where I was like, his voice is like louder than if he spoke and you recorded it.
And it's also not matching his lips at all. So this
No.
is actually called ADR. It stands for Automated Dialogue Replacement, and it is a very normal process in movies. Like anytime like there's dialogue where like it's switching shots like to the back of their head and it's the same dialogue going on, it's that. So this is a very normal thing. Every movie, every TV show has this thing, but this movie did it very, very, very badly.
So badly.
So badly. Like, it's noticeable. Normally, it's not. Sometimes I could, like, notice it, like, if a character's, like, speaking and then it shows, like, the back of their head, and I could kind of make out the motions of their cheeks, and I'm like, that's not lining up. I'm smart. I've noticed this. But fucking nobody even tried to do even a little bit of that.
Yeah, they did not bother to give a shit about many things on this film. Least of all the speaking.
So, this pregnant woman, she's in the Amazon looking for a spider.
Don't forget she's looking at a web this whole time.
Yes, she's photographing it too.
Yes.
She's a photographer because photography and spider people go hand in hand.
Yes, and even though she's looking for the spider and researching it, she's pretty much only taking photos throughout this entire scene.
So much exposition in this entire movie. She's explaining in full detail to the guy that she's been with the whole time.
And who knows exactly what she's doing.
Yeah. Because he's there for the same spider too, but she's explaining to him that the peptides in the spider's venom supercharge their cellular structure and can
Subtle
cure things.
Foreshadowing.
Ham-fisted foreshadowing.
And then she explains that there's spider people who punish evildoers. Subtle foreshadowing.
Well, the guy does that. He says that, like, it also gives you super strength, and he refers to the las arañas, which is Spanish for the spiders. Arañas actually is an important thing. I don't think las arañas exists in the comics. I really don't think that. But arañas is a character. Araña is a character.
Oh.
In the comics. I'll get to that sometime.
Okay.
But yeah, she even says, like, those mythical spider people who run across the treetops punishing evil men with their black poison touch.
Oh yeah, it's
that's the exact quote. That is the exact quote.
I wrote it down. It's like, let me lay this out for you exactly as it is.
Yeah. And then she says, no, thank you, Mr. Sims. And I would like to pause right here. That tells us right now that this character is Ezekiel Sims. Ezekiel Sims is in the comics. He's a member of the Spider Society and recipient of the spider totem powers long before Peter Parker would be bitten by the radioactive spider. And he's not a bad guy. He's like a morally ambiguous character. Like, he has like a big company in the comics and everything, and he gets rich, but he's not a bad guy. He's just like not even an anti-hero. I don't even know what to call it. In the comics, he's not the kind of guy to like run around and kill people.
He's not out here murdering people, which is exactly what he does.
But it is worth mentioning, like, this magic spider, dumb, but spider magic in the comics is a real thing. So Peter Parker originally gets bitten by a radioactive spider that gives him spider powers, but that was eventually retconned as a means to an end in order to grant Peter Parker the spider totem. Long story short,
spider people get their spider powers.
Yeah. Long story short, you said it.
Yeah.
Spider totems are how you get spider powers. It's how you become like a totemic avatar of the spider. Blah blah blah. Go read a comic book.
Sound like you're saying totem and spider in as many different iterations as
totem,
possible.
spider, totem.
Totem, spider, totem, totonic spider.
Oh, it gets pretty
spider,
bad later on.
Totemite.
So she's expositioning some more, and then all of a sudden has labor pains because she's like in labor. We're unsure why this bitch is so close to labor, has decided to go to the Amazon and create that as the perfect environment to birth a fucking child.
Yeah, she says this is right. And then, so there's like a scene where fucking, what's his name? Ezekiel Sims.
Ezekiel, yes.
I literally don't think he is mentioned, like his name is mentioned a single other time.
No, so she says Mr. Sims. That's how we know that it's
Yeah.
okay. That's how I know that it's Ezekiel
Yes.
Sims. But they do call him Ezekiel later on in the movie multiple times.
Oh, I missed it. I've been calling him Evil Peter in my notes
That's
the whole
okay.
time.
It's funny because I actually have down here NSM, which stands for Not Spider-Man.
Fantastic.
But he's doing some spy shit. Like he's like sneaking around taking
With
photos
the
of
most
the
miniature
journal.
camera.
Yeah.
It's so small. And he takes
Well, it
pictures
is the
of their nuts.
70s, but it's like one of those like you don't see them anymore, but they're like wide flat cameras.
I don't know why in my head I'm literally picturing like a cracker-sized camera, so maybe I just exaggerated
fuck?
this scene in my brain.
I mean, it is thin, it is small,
Like-
but it's like not. It's small
No,
for
like
the
I'm
70s.
picturing like a wheat thin. Is somehow that's what I absorbed mentally during this scene.
So all of a sudden, the pregnant lady. You know what? I don't think we ever get her fucking name.
No, we do. We do.
I don't have that down. What is it?
It's I don't want to spoil it. It's Constance Webb.
It's fine to note the last name as Webb. We're gonna spoil the shit out of this movie, but Constance, I didn't even hear that.
Yeah, so translated from Latin into English, it means constantly looking at spider webs.
Anyway, it does pay off though because
She finds the spider.
she does find the spider. It's a bad CG spider, first of all.
It's so
like
bad. It's the CG on the spider's so bad it makes me wonder if the jar is real.
well, no, because like the spider like moves across the jar. It's weird. Like it clearly wasn't like rendered
sense.
right.
Yeah.
Like they made the CG spider, but then they didn't put like the jar effects over it, and
Yeah.
it's very obvious.
Yeah. It's
So
just
she's
bad.
like, I have a CG spider now, everybody, and they're celebrating, and then Ezekiel just shoots everybody because, well, I'm not sure why.
My favorite part is so he fucking shoots everyone. Ezekiel and Constance Webb fucking have their like final little chat, and he just uses the like, I've had a hard life.
Yes, I actually have
That's
it written down in the exact words. No one helped me when my family was starving, and then
Yeah.
he shoots her.
That was his excuse for murdering everybody.
Yeah,
Is I want
Yes.
this spider and no one helped me. Like everyone in this film has like a tween age motivation for doing shit in their life.
I mean, there's
It's
so
just
much.
so
we
angsty.
gotta walk to get to the point where we could run first. All right, so
So then some fucking creepy spider people come down from the trees and they're
No,
wearing
no.
like
it's I because I watched it a second time. It's multiple shots. It is one person.
okay.
It looks like there's multiple because like there's like one going
It's
down the
just
tree
the
and then
one
it shows
guy?
like from the left and then like from the bottom. Yeah. It's one
Oh
it's one
my
guy.
god, that makes this whole thing funnier.
Yeah, I called him Jungle Spider-Man, by the way.
Okay, so Jungle Spider-Man has a montage of him climbing and jumping around the forest to prove a point that
He
Las
fucking
Arañas
Twilight
is
runs
real.
through the treetops.
Yes. He does a
It's
full
really bad.
on come on Spider Monkey Edward moves. And then he's covered in what looks like moist root systems that
Yeah,
create his webbing on his spider suit.
It's pretty gross.
It looks real grody.
That's another thing I don't like is that this kind of lays out the concept that Peter Parker didn't come up with his own Spider-Man costume. It just
Yes.
seems like reminiscent of everybody else around him. I don't like that.
I refer to constantly looking at webs. Everybody in this film, including the viewers, are constantly looking at webs.
I actually have in my notes for the first part is like we start with a shot of a glistening spider web, and this is probably the only time I'm ever going to bring that up because they show spider webs in every other scene, and we've like already thrown that away. So Jungle Spider-Man takes her to a cave with a pool in it and then makes a spider bite her chest while she gives birth.
Which seems like it would really fucking suck. And then, so I don't know, we're in the deep Amazon of Peru, so I really wasn't expecting fucking Las Arañas to just magically know how to speak English. And
Yeah,
he's
I
just like, your daughter is fine. She will come back when she needs answers. And then and then she passes out, and I'm assuming
well,
she's
she
dead.
dies.
Yeah. But the way that she like quote unquote dies makes it look like she's just passing out. Like it doesn't look like she died.
I mean, technically, you pass out before you die.
I
That's
guess it was just the way it was filmed was like this could be like she's alive. I figured she was dead, but it
yeah.
was filmed poorly.
From this point, I don't understand is how Jungle Spider-Man got her into the U.S. foster care system.
I spent so long wondering how the fuck, because she has like this like baby birth certificate thing in her keepsake box that we see later that's clearly like from Peru. And then she's just sort of magically like in America and grew up in the foster system there the whole time.
Yeah.
It's like,
and
what did he just like put her on a fucking cargo plane and hope for the best? Who named her? Did he name her?
Yeah, I don't know
Who the fuck?
who named her.
Because he also got all of her mom's stuff and sent it with her.
Yeah. Rachel, don't start pulling at threads.
There's too many threads in this film to pull at for us to spend more than 30 seconds on any.
This movie is fucking standing on like straws and spit right now. That's all it has.
This movie is on the world's thinnest layer of fucking ice. One wrong move and fucking everything is done.
So we fast forward. It is now 2003 in New York, and we're introduced to Dakota Johnson, known for not good movies.
Oh, really?
Dakota Johnson as Cassandra Webb, and she's driving an ambulance in a hurry. Now, I'm going to do this thing where when we hit a character, I'm going to go into huge fucking backgrounds of this character.
Do it. Go.
So, spoiler to anyone who hasn't seen this movie or picked up a comic book or watched any of the Spider-Man TV shows, because she's in most of them. Cassandra Webb is better known as Madam Web. In the comics, she's a powerful psychic and oracle who has the access to the web of life and destiny that unifies the spider totems and can therefore see every possible future of every reality. She's really OP. She was born blind and suffered from a neurological condition known as myasthenia gravis, which gave her psychic powers, but as far as we know, none of this is true for the movie right now.
Yep.
We are also introduced to Adam Scott as Ben Parker. Yes, that Ben Parker. He's in the back of the ambulance, resuscitating a bitch.
Wait, I'm sorry. His last name is Parker?
Oh my god, you didn't realize that?
I don't know why I didn't catch that at all. I was like, why is this dude just like fucking around?
That little tidbit is gonna fucking open up a lot in this movie.
Okay.
Just wait.
Yeah.
So that is Ben Parker. He is the brother to Richard Parker and uncle to Peter Parker. Moving on.
There are so many things.
Yeah, it's about to clear up
film.
A bunch of weird things, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, I'm like backtracking through my head and going like, oh, this and this and this and this.
So they're speeding through the streets with the ambulance and the sirens are blaring and fucking nobody's pulling over at all. I don't know if you noticed that.
Oh,
Nobody seems to care that...
No, she's straight up like fucking Fast and the Furious-ing a fucking ambulance through this city.
And nobody's fucking pulling over at all. But also, at the same time, having a casual conversation using an indoor volume with Ben Parker.
Yeah, we're totally
oh yeah,
fine.
how's it going? During this stressful situation of a woman dying and traffic sucks.
Mm-hmm. And then a teenager cuts out in front of the ambulance, so she has to hard stop, and the teenager flips off the ambulance.
Because she's an edgy teenager.
Yeah.
Played by Celeste O'Connor, and we're leaving it there for now.
Yep.
Yeah. And then Cassie's just like, I cannot believe that. Who flips off an ambulance? Kids these days. While somebody's dying in the back of the ambulance.
Yeah.
That's the fucking line. Like, she's so calm about it.
Yep.
And then we snap to a new shot, and this is something that happens multiple times in this movie. I don't know if you noticed it. It's one of my favorite things. She like is struggling to open up a Mountain Dew. Multiple times in this movie, she's given a can of soda and just fucking fiddles with it. Never once opens it.
I thought when you started that sentence, because this is my note for this scene, and it starts out very similarly. And then we cut to a scene, and I don't know if you noticed, but this happens multiple times in this fucking film, where she struggles to open any sort of emotional connection with any other fucking character. Similar to the Mountain Dew, she has no fucking clue what she's doing. Like, have you ever met someone who's like emotionally awkward and they can't connect with people? Now imagine that person is like 6 million times worse. Because my note for this is she clearly cannot handle any emotional connections because this child comes to thank her for saving his mom. And she awkwardly keeps telling him that she does not want his gift and trying not to take it.
It's
until Ben fucking Parker is like, just tell him thank you. And it's immediately followed by a scene about her trying to get out of going to a baby shower with him because she's like, oh my God, would have to be near people that are experiencing emotions.
It's even funnier than that because at first it's the nurse who comes up and says she's going to make it. And Cassie says, who?
She stopped giving a shit about this bitch. She's like, my only job when it comes to quote unquote saving you is just getting you there. I don't need to get you there alive and I don't need to give a fuck.
We also see in this scene is that the kid is with a family and the teenage girl in that family is a shy teenager played by Sydney Sweeney. We'll leave that there. So Cassie and Ben are sharing a meal and it's pretty clear that he has feelings for her, but they never like even tiptoe into that realm because again, as Rachel put it so poignantly, this bitch has zero skills in connecting with anybody, anything around her, except for the fucking web of life and destiny, I guess.
I noted in this scene that pretty sure her EMT partner likes her because he's like, I think I met someone. And I straight up thought he was talking about her, but maybe he was just talking about Aunt May.
He absolutely was talking about May. Because they never say her name, but fuck off.
And it makes sense why they didn't say the name. I thought it was just going to be him quietly being like, oh, I like this deeply fucking broken individual that does not know how to speak to people.
So Cassie opens up a fortune cookie and it says, you will blank, which is important because ambiguity. And
that's it. Just ambiguity.
She goes home to an apartment complex and overhears a third teenage girl that is just a background character and not important to the story, arguing with the landlord because her dad isn't home. This teenager is played by Isabella Merced, and we'll leave that there.
And since you're making an obvious show of it, we're clearly going to circle back to these characters. But this is kind of also how the movie did it, where they spend like, it's not like when you watch a reveal in a movie and then you're like, oh, all these characters were in those scenes. That's fucking crazy. It's like, we're going to linger a little too awkwardly long on these like seemingly irrelevant people so that you're like, okay, so when are we going to see him again?
Zero subtlety.
No.
Zero subtlety
again,
in this movie.
Ham-fisting. If you're someone that really likes shit being explained to you,
I'm now calling
it
web fisting.
Yeah, so they web-fisted these three characters.
No, wait, that's a sexual move where it milks the prostate.
No, we're gonna keep calling it that. They web-fisted these characters down your throat.
So Cassie goes into her house and talks to a stray cat about both being strays and sticking together. And this is a callback, actually, to Breakfast at Tiffany's to show what is a good movie and what isn't.
And also, this is the only living creature that she seems to have any sort of emotional wherewithal with.
And it's like not even a real connection because it's a stray cat just eating things and going on its way.
Yeah.
So then all of a sudden she remembers the kid's drawing and decides to store it in her suitcase that holds important stuff.
Her keepsake suitcase.
She has the urge to stare at her birth certificate for an uncomfortably long time so that we can see the birth certificate and understand the birth certificate.
And see that it is not from here and from elsewhere.
Then she finds her mom's journal that she apparently has seen multiple times, I assume, and then flips through it saying, I hope the spiders were worth it, Mom.
No foreshadowing there.
Yeah.
So the next scene is her and Ben responding to a giant accident with a car flipped on a bridge.
Yep.
And Cassie, Miss Future Madam Web, is in the car as it falls off of the bridge and into the water. And then we enter this fucking surreal scene. And I want you to know that when I watched this scene, first of all, it's just fucking weird. But even as I watched it, I was like, so everything that we're like hearing and seeing is shit that's gonna happen later in this film, because that's how web-fisted this shit is.
Oh yeah,
in this goddamn movie.
I didn't even notice it the first time. Like, some of it was like, okay, we're obviously gonna see some of this, but then like when I watched it the second time, I'm like, this is just the entire fucking movie.
Oh yeah, it's literally the entire movie played out. I didn't think it was gonna be the entire movie, but I was like, this is all gonna be shit that happens. But it's basically the entire fucking film. Like, let me take one snippet from each important scene, and there you go. So really, what you have to do is just watch up until this scene, and then you're good.
Yeah,
you've seen the whole
thing.
Just
go away. You're fine.
Yeah.
Like, oh, there's fireworks, a giant S. That's all you need to see.
Yep. Fireworks, giant S, bloody hands,
Superman,
webby, gold stranding webby things. It's
Krypton
fine.
for hope.
And then she comes to from her drowning, and Ben saves her and lets her know that she apparently died for a little bit there, and he revived her. And then I'm guessing her superpowers are coming on now, because she starts to relive the same things again.
Yeah, she's having like a groundhog 10 seconds.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I just heard the cat. Which, it's convenient that the cat meowed at this time, because that's also how they choose to show you the groundhog 10 seconds, is they usually make an absurdly loud sound through like the next several that we see, and then they go and replay the loud sound again, so that you're like, oh, it's replaying. They don't do it in this one, but literally the next 5 have that.
Yeah, and this scene is just like a long scene of her doing the same thing and repeating the same thing, because she's seeing the future now.
Yeah.
And so now we flip to Ezekiel. Where is Ezekiel now, you're wondering?
At the opera.
Well, yeah, now he's rich and powerful due to stealing a spider, which is in the comics. He gets a spider power and then is like, I could be a hero, but then decides to use it to gain wealth instead. That's canon so far. So far, right on track. Congrats, guys. You did.
Minus the murdering.
We're not there yet.
No, he already murdered people in 1973. This is 2003.
He totally did, yeah.
Yeah.
So he saunters into an opera and flirts with a random old chick, and then they like go bang at his apartment immediately. But I do want to point out that it shows a giant over-the-top terrarium where he keeps his magic spider.
Yes.
And it's over the top. Like, it's not just like oh, like there's a little jungle thing. The jungle has evolved past the terrarium and is just this giant pillar of nature.
It's pretty cool, to be honest.
Immediately we go into this dream sequence because he's having a bad dream, and he says, and I quote, "Where's my spider? They took my spider." And then he is fighting Spider-Woman 2, Spider-Woman 3, and Aranya, all played by the unimportant background teenagers. They throw him out a window and he dies. Now, I will point out, I did say Spider-Woman 2, Spider-Woman 3, and Aranya, because those are all established characters.
Are they called Spider-Woman 2 and 3 in the comics?
I mean, no, it's just that one of them is the second Spider-Woman. She dons the Spider-Woman title after the first, and then the other one is the third Spider-Woman. And Aranya is just Aranya. She's Aranya. I think she was a Spider-Girl at one time. But
I would additionally like to note that one of them, I don't know if it's 2, 3, or Aranya, pretty sure it's 2 or 3, has the fucking iron spider suit.
Not quite. She has like the spinnerets, I think is what they're called, like the spider arms. But like her costume is like cheap spandex, like a spray painted leotard.
Yeah, sorry, it's the knockoff Iron Spider.
So he wakes up, and the one night stand turns to say "bad dream," and he goes, "Not a dream. I'm going to be murdered someday."
Oh yeah, this dude, she wakes up next to him, and he just starts offloading, and her response is like, "You're a fucking hoot," and real weird.
I actually wrote down here, goes into a rant that feels like it was written by Stephanie Meyer.
Yeah, this whole film is really just if Stephanie Meyer wrote about spider people.
Don't say that. But
Don't give her any ideas. Stephanie Meyer, if you're listening, stop it. Don't do it.
This whole scene is wild. So he's like, I will find them and kill them first by getting this super secret technology that the NSA has to find faces. And it like clicks a bell in her. And she realizes that he got with her.
This might be the only thing that they didn't totally ham fist down our throats.
I agree, yeah.
Because this is the only thing that isn't directly explained to us as it's happening.
Yeah, because you're absolutely right. This is a better thing because, like, I definitely remember being confused because of how ham-fisted everything was. So my brain was already, like, calibrated to be dumb. Yep. And she, like, reached into her purse for a gun, and I'm like, why does she have a gun?
Yeah, and that's when I went, oh, she works for the NSA. Got it.
Yeah, it does zoom in on her NSA badge, but he grabs her arm, and she says, and I quote, "How are you poisoning me?"
Yeah, we went right
question.
Back to the ham fisting.
And I did write down here, this movie has a lot of Dutch angles. Every other scene has to have a Dutch angle. I don't know why.
What the fuck is a Dutch angle?
A Dutch angle is if you watch like a horror movie and like the camera is like skewed like to the left or the right.
Oh, yeah,
and it's like angled weirdly.
A little tippy. Yeah, almost every single scene with this dude in it is weird and tippy.
Yeah, now that I explained it, you're like, yes, that, yes.
That's all over the place.
So he's like poisoning her. Her like body's turning black because of the poison. And it's great that she acknowledges that it is definitely a poison that is happening from him. What a fucking awful question. And she dies. And then he says to her face, he gets close up and
says, I'm so glad you also quoted this because I did too.
Okay, all right. It's a good thing that you did not know that today was the day you were going to die, he says to her.
He says it almost exactly like that, too. In enunciation and everything.
An inch away from her face.
Also, you know what this film does so well? Is science and technology. Because he gets her like phone password and her NSA badge and magically has all of the powers of the NSA at his fingertips.
Yeah,
I don't think it works like that, sir.
Especially not in 2003. Like we weren't fucking there yet.
We weren't like fucking logging in from our iPhone onto the NSA network. So then the next scene after that beautiful exceptional acting is we're back at the backyard barbecue baby shower thing, and we're watching a man get horribly roasted for horribly roasting burgers because he keeps pressing them and pushing the juices out.
Yeah, what did this scene remind me of? It kind of reminded me of the scene from The Room, oddly enough, where like they're kind of playing football. Do you remember that scene?
No, I told you I haven't actually watched it. I do know what you're talking about now because I forgot about it, but I haven't actually seen the film.
But there's like a scene where they're just like kind of like it's this long movie about like love and then breakup and then like emotions and everything, but randomly in the middle of the movie they're like having this scene where they're just like throwing a football around each other and like laughing and cheering, and it's fucking weird and uncanny. But this scene reminds me of that, where it's just like, oh, those burgers, eh? Like,
it's because this is another scene that is built to be weirdly hyper focused on a character for the purposes of future using that character for something.
Also, she is struggling to open up a Pepsi can in this shot as well.
Additionally, I noted she is forced into emotionally charged, uncomfortable social interactions because she doesn't know how to people. I'm kind of betting that every time she's emotionally uncomfortable, she is also fumbling with a soda can.
There's a part in here too where she says like, I want a beer, and Ben's like, oh no, you just like got revived, no way. And she says like, when you have a cardiac arrest and your heart starts back up again, you're fine, because she's the worst paramedic ever.
Oh, the awful. We'll get to that more later too. Just
Jesus
fucking
Christ.
Terrible.
Yeah, we really have to go in order. by God. So
Then there's this bitch from American Horror Story. She's Ben's sister?
Emma Roberts. No,
Sister-in-law?
sister-in-law. Yes, this
And she's
is
pregnant.
Mary Parker. Originally Mary Fitzpatrick, who would meet fellow CIA agent Richard Parker before joining S.H.I.E.L.D. and eventually doing adult stuff and
Nice.
getting married and stuff. But yeah, the two characters, Richard Parker and Mary Fitzpatrick / Mary Parker, were S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. And that's not in this movie, but whatever.
I think I knew that. Oh, no, I guess they kind of go into that in...
They kind of do in Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, just
like in the
smidge.
plane scene.
Yeah.
Just a smidge, but it's like a lot deeper than that.
Then they play awkward baby shower games where
No.
Cassie...
They played made-up baby shower games that I've never fucking heard of before.
Yes, they're also exceptionally awkward. So the game that they're playing is like, what's your favorite moment with your mom? And here's what gets me about this whole scene is Cassie, when playing this game, just put in a blank piece of paper instead of just not putting one in.
Yeah.
Because they could have just, like, here's what a normal person would do. They don't put in the piece of paper. Here's how this scene could have gone. She doesn't put in a piece of paper. Then they go, Cassie, what's a moment with your mom? And she'd go, oh, nah, and try to push him off until they force her to let out this information. Instead, this is what happens. Cassie puts in a blank piece of paper. She goes, who put in a blank piece of paper? And she goes, oh, that's mine. And then she awkwardly tells everybody that her mom died in childbirth because she brought her to the middle of the fucking Amazon and decided to give birth to her there. And just sort of like info dumps onto this whole party. And then instead of like...
It's funny because I wrote down trauma dump.
Yeah, instead of letting her like just finish what she's saying, this other lady goes, okay, let's move on to the next scene. And it gives this scene like the most aggressively tense sensation for no fucking reason. Because like it's not emotionally tense, it's tense like someone's gonna stab somebody else tense.
Well, this baby shower game was made up specifically to create an opportunity for Cassie to
talk about
dump.
this. Yes.
Yeah, and everybody's fixated on Cassie. You know what I would have done in that situation? I would have wrote down, thank you, Mom, for teaching me how to bake cookies.
Yeah.
They don't need to know. These are fucking strangers. Who cares?
They didn't need to make this scene so fucking awkward, but so is the rest of the film, so I guess... This might have been the only scene where she wasn't fumbling with a soda while she was emotionally tense. She was just awkwardly eating a skewer.
They go on to play a second made-up baby shower game, although this one might be real. I don't know.
I don't know if guessing the baby's fucking name is real, because could you imagine? We're just going to leaf through a 365-page book that has every fucking baby name. And you don't know if it's a boy or a girl.
Does it have a Latin root? Like, what are we working with?
Are we playing 20 questions?
Yeah, they're playing let's guess my baby's name but never actually say it. It's fucking cool. So no one can guess what the baby's name is going to be, and then Mary asks Cassie, which feels like the perfect cuz she actually has like this another premonition right here where she's like, this happened before. And this would have been the perfect opportunity to write in her saying it's Peter because she saw the future. But fuck me, I'm not a writer.
Yes.
So.
No, I was fucking waiting for that moment because she said Ben, and then clearly it was going to be no, and then they are about to relive this scene, and I was like, oh, she's going to say the actual baby name and get it right, and they decided to skip it.
Nope, that's what good writers would have done.
That would have been a cool
God
Easter
forbid.
egg, but fuck us all, right?
I noticed that they never say Peter Parker. They also never say May either. Because those are core Spider-Man characters that are in the Spider-Man movie, so they don't want to touch that at all.
Nope. So then Ben cuts her off from revealing Peter's name and says that they need to go to an EMT fire thing. And she continues having a bunch of fucking deja vu moments about multiple people at this event. And she be struggling to figure out what it means.
It's also worth pointing out that she's doing chest compressions on this guy for a very long time.
Like, so long. Like,
and
I'm
also
pretty sure halfway through this... Yes. So I'm pretty sure, like, halfway through this scene, this guy probably, like, was revived, and she just kept annihilating his chest.
Well, yeah, because there's even a point where, like, you know, she's, like, even says he's fine, like, you're fine. And he's, like, awake and just staring at the sky. And he, like, looks kind of confused, like, what are you doing to me, lady?
Yeah, the whole scene is fucking weird.
But she has a premonition about her paramedic friend slash
No.
boss.
This
They
is the
never
thing.
say
She
it.
has a premonition about the burger flipping guy dying.
Oh, was it the burger flipper? I
I'm
didn't even.
pretty sure it's the burger cooking guy, and that's why we got a weirdly long social interaction where he gets hugged by his wife. Because I wrote, there's a touching moment where the guy who flips the burgers and ruins them is now dying, and we should care a lot because we met him for like 3 minutes, and so now he is deeply meaningful to us.
See, I didn't care so much that I just never put two and two together.
Well, I just figured with the way they were introducing people, this must be someone that we're going to use for
You're
5 seconds.
probably right.
Yeah. And then, so he dies, and she's having like a full on panic attack thing, which obviously, because she also, is like predicting the future and shit. But Ben is just like not off put by any of this. He's like, oh, damn, you're going to be okay. Don't worry about it.
What hits me about this, and I don't know if you noticed it, but I had to fucking rewind it, but they zoom out of this scene because a truck T-bones the ambulance.
Mm-hmm.
And they zoom out and they show that the truck was speeding in the direction of the river. There's nothing over there. Where the fuck was that truck going?
I didn't notice that. I put it off because I was like, they're on a fucking dock. I don't know where this truck came from, so I just didn't even bother to see where it was going.
So we go to one of my favorite scenes in the movie.
Okay, yes, and another famous person, which can we talk about how like the supporting cast for this film is actually like this weird amalgamation of good actors and actresses?
Oh, are you talking about his assistant?
Yes.
I did not know who that was. Please tell me.
I like her. I don't know who the fuck where she's from, but let me look it up.
Famous people indeed. She's like one of the only names I didn't write down.
Zoja Mamet? What are you in? Oh, she's in Girls, I think?
But so we jump into this scene, and it's the spider thief is playing with a spider while his assistant hacks NSA because they have like the credentials and everything.
Yeah, they have her phone and her password, so obviously that means they can get into the entirety of the NSA now.
And this is the most blatant hand wavium I've ever seen in a movie, but they managed to digitally recreate.
Oh, this was so funny.
Images of the girls that the spider that Ezekiel has in his dreams, like it's them. It is perfectly created. This is before imaging AI exists, and then he's like, "I want to kill them before they get their powers."
So they perfectly recreate them, and then she de-ages them because he's not supposed to die for another several years. And we know this because in his vision of him in the future, he has very, very white hair, and that's like the only thing they did to change. I don't think they even dyed his beard. It was just the hair on the top of his head. That's the only thing they did to change him being old.
The first time we see him in the comics, that's exactly how he looks too. Barefoot too, because he was barefoot in that scene. But this is one of my favorite parts is that she does de-age them, but she says, let's age these photos 10 years younger. Oh my God, they're so young. They're just kids.
They're just children. And then she has no moral stakes with that whatsoever after that point.
I wrote down here, Cassie goes to an optometrist and it's a useless scene about how normal her results are.
Oh, yeah. I put Cassie goes to get checked because she's like, hey, medical professionals, tell me why I'm seeing the future.
She's a medical professional. I don't...
Yeah. Doctor says, you're good. Just watch old movies and chill.
I actually remember just watch old movies, but I didn't write that down. Even though that is like a little important, I guess.
Is it?
Yeah, because she goes home and does watch old movies, and the old movies actually give her an idea to do something.
What do they give her an idea to do?
Well, she goes home and she watches Scrooge, and there's like a line that Scrooge says about like, if only I knew what was going to happen, or some shit like that.
Yeah, and then she says you can't change things or some shit.
This is a dumb scene, but she burns herself on some popcorn, and then a pigeon hits her window and dies.
Oh, wait, she burns herself on some popcorn and shatters a bowl? I'm not really sure where the bowl is from. And then a bird hits the window and dies.
I thought that the paper bag turned into glass and shattered because it was supposed to be symbolism because it's a vision. I don't know, but a bowl makes way more sense. Like she had the bowl underneath.
I don't know where the bowl came from. So maybe it's still just symbolism because it looked like she pulled the popcorn out of the microwave and then it being a bag of popcorn that weighs like 4 fucking ounces somehow magically caused a glass bowl to fall on the floor too.
I like to imagine that it was like teetering, like on the counter, maybe. I
But
don't know.
again, like a tiny bag of popcorn, I don't even think would make the difference there.
Yeah, I mean, this is all irrelevant because it's not even real. It's a vision.
Yeah, it's yeah.
So she's like, "Oh, wait a minute! I can open the window, and the pigeon won't hit it and die."
Yeah. And then she's like, it's not going to change anything. And then the pigeon flies in and doesn't die. And then suddenly she's determined now to change
What the fuck
everything.
did she think? Like, it's not going to change anything. Was the pigeon going to hit another window?
Yeah, I don't
What's your
understand.
fucking
either.
logic?
Just flies into the upper part of the window.
Ugh.
So then she goes to like a major subway station and we begin
That's
to
Central
pass
Station.
the girls that she previously met. Killer 1, 2, and 3 from fucking Evil Peter's visions. And you know that they're all about to meet and bond about their like weird future together. So she sits on the subway.
Oh, wait, really quickly, I think the Ezekiel's assistant like says their names out
Oh,
loud,
yes,
so
and
that
she's like,
we, the audience, can hear them.
yes, so that we all now know who the fuck these kids are.
Yes, and they are. We have Isabella Merced as Anya Corazon. Anya was Spider-Girl, but is more famous for being Araña, which is Spanish for spider. She was given her powers by Miguel Legar, the sorcerer of the Spider Society. Don't ask. We also have Celeste O'Connor as Maddie Franklin. She was the shitty teenager. Originally Martha Franklin. She was the third Spider-Woman. She got her powers from a satanic adjacent ritual known as the Gathering of the Five, which is also how Madame Web got her powers, but I'm not going to get into any of that. And finally, we have Sydney Sweeney as Julia Cornwall, though in the comics, it's Julia Carpenter, so this is a weird change. She's the second
Seems
Spider-Woman.
unnecessary, but it
is weird, like Cornwall.
At least they still chose like a structural thing. Like you have wall, carpenter.
Yeah, she gets her powers by being experimented on with weird spider venom and plant extract, which might actually fit in this weird movie. But she is the second Spider-Woman and later becomes the second Madame Web. Oh. But that's not happening in this movie, so don't worry about it.
Maybe it'll happen in this long iteration of this exceptional
There's
film.
No fucking way.
You don't think they're going to get a 2 and 3?
I remember the second filming wrapped up, Dakota Johnson fucking vanished. She would didn't do anything for this movie. She distanced herself immediately.
Yeah, she probably knew from day fucking 1 it was going to be terrible.
It's gotta suck.
Took a paycheck and left.
It's gotta suck, like, if you're an actor, because you do sign a contract to do a movie, and then, like, at some point, you're like, this fucking sucks. This
blows.
It can also be the other way around, where, like, I know that Bruce Willis on the set of Fifth Element told Chris Tucker to, like, kiss your career goodbye because this movie's gonna end it. But that ended up being a really good movie, so fuck you, Bruce Willis. Sorry you have weird brain cancer, though.
Fuck you, Bruce Willis. Sorry you're fucked up. So Cassie starts getting a bunch of visions of these 3 girls getting super murdered by Ezekiel. And I put at this point, whose name I should probably know by now, but certainly do not. The most preposterous part of this scene, so there's like all these like iterations of future things that she's seeing before they happen. And one of them is this guy sitting directly next to her on the train when there's a million other open fucking seats. And I was like, this is easily the most preposterous part of this fucking deja vu scene. It's not a single human being would sit directly next to a stranger while there's every seat on the fucking train open.
It's just to pay off a gag in a couple minutes. And I didn't even write this down, so I'm glad you did.
It's such a bad gag, too. It's like, it's not even funny.
It's I don't know. It's not funny. It's just like, oh, I guess.
Yeah.
Which this movie probably needed a lot more of, but whatever.
He's like, is this the train to this place? And she goes, I certainly hope not. And so he gets up and runs off the train, which I have also never seen someone change their seating so aggressively quickly. And then later we see him and he goes, am I on the right train? And she's just like, I don't know. That's it. That was probably a funnier delivery than the movie had.
Yeah, I didn't even write it down because I'm like, this really isn't important enough, and
I just
I'm
thought,
still stewing.
yeah. So we start seeing Ezekiel Sims approaching from a different train car, and so she's finally starting to act on her vision and is pushing these girls off the train. And they're like, "This bitch is trying to abduct us. The police need to help." And then she points out to them that fucking evil Spider-Man is crawling across the goddamn ceiling.
It's worth noting that that Julie does shout out, "We're being abducted" once.
Yes,
That's
one
all she
time.
says, and it's New York City on the subway, so that means fuck all. No one's paying attention.
No. Then there's like police like 50 feet away. Like if you're not paying attention, which no one is, you would not notice.
Yeah.
So, and this is important for later, so keep that in mind.
Yes.
Um, they get on another.
I'm glad you had the exact same thought I did.
I am so excited to get to my favorite part of this film. I'll tell you when it's here. So they get on another train. Evil Spider-Man kills the fucking conductor on that train while he's making announcements, and they continue their escape. The police. So they like get back off that train, and then the police immediately start trying to arrest Cassie. I put for some fucking reason. I'm assuming because they yelled help earlier, but it
Yeah.
seems like perhaps you might ask more questions initially than just
Yeah.
grabbing people. But law enforcement.
Yeah, you absolutely would. Like, hey, is this woman bothering you? Like, can you stop for a second? Can you explain the situation? No, just like hands on your head. Like
Well,
it's
and
weird.
as they're trying to arrest her, the girls are like, "No, no, no, she's not the one that's hurting us. Look at the guy." Like they're explaining, and they're still trying to aggressively arrest her while fucking evil Spider-Man starts beating the shit out of them and killing them. And then so they escape the subway tunnel, and there's a very long showy scene of this cab driver multiple times being like, "Oh, thank you so much" to this lady, and they steal his cab. And I don't know why they needed to spend so much time on him repeating that line like 2 or 3 times before they stole his cab, cuz he never shows up
Because
again.
it's because he's an extra, and this is his one fucking role and line, and he fucking ran
Yeah,
with
it's
it.
like they got his paperwork wrong or something, cuz you don't have to pay as much if someone doesn't have speaking lines. And it's like they accidentally gave him like a speaking line contract. They were like, "Oh, we have to retcon this. He's contracted for 3 lines." And the 3 lines were, "Oh, thank you so much. Oh, really? Thank you so much. Oh, I can't thank you enough." And then his cab gets stolen.
These pretzels sure are making me thirsty.
And then fucking Cassie, this bitch is so aggressively anti-people that the girls are like, "Thank you so much for saving us." And she's like, "Ew, no, your parents can take care of you," which doesn't make any fucking sense.
She brings that up later too, and I'll get there, but
Yeah. And then, so she's like, "If any of you want to leave, you can just leave." And then she realizes that they're the only 3 people that know that she is not the one trying to kidnap
yeah,
them. So
yeah,
she kidnaps
because a
them.
newscast radio like pops up and like, there's a subway attack, and this girl Cassie Webb, she did it. Go find
Yeah,
her.
immediately. And then so she actually kidnaps them. And I was like, why is her first her first thought not to go clear this up with the police? She's like, "Let's go to the woods and hide."
I mean, somebody who sucks the dick of this movie would make up some mumbo jumbo about how she saw a future and went with the future that leads to good things happening. And
Yeah,
I don't know,
That's a crock
Rachel.
of shit. And then I love that this bitch is about to be forced into human emotions by annoying teenagers. And then this is where they slowly realize that she has previously run into all 3 of them. Shocker, the foreshadowing where we spent super long zooming in on people that are like irrelevant background characters. We realize they're not irrelevant background characters. Maddie's the girl that flipped off the ambulance. Anya lives in her building. Julia's the older sister of the kid that was gifting her the thank you. Incredible.
Yeah.
And then she ditches them kids in the fucking woods
She
and
says
goes back to her
specifically,
house.
I'll be back in 3 hours. I want to fixate on that. I'll be back in 3 hours.
And then she goes to her home, which seems like the best fucking spot to go when you have the police force looking for you.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, this movie like flip-flops on the importance of these 3 teenagers missing, where it's like really blown up in some spots and then really not at all in others.
Like, not a big deal.
Again, for plot propulsion, so whatever, I suppose. And so she goes back to her house to start looking into her mother's research about spider people. Bitch tries to find out if she's a spider person by
Yeah,
straight up like flopping into a wall.
this scene almost saved the movie for me.
Yeah,
Because she's reading the
it was
journal
my
about spider powers and climbing walls, and then she's like, can I? And she does like the Spider-Man 1 Tobey Maguire thing with the fingertips and trying to do it, and she just fucking just slowly crumbles like a depressed fucking cat. And
yeah.
it's the only beautiful scene in this whole movie.
Yeah, it was genuinely the only good scene in this entire thing. That was like truly funny.
And then she mentions spider sense and the ability to see the future. But I did want to say these are two wildly different things.
Oh
That
yeah,
is not what spider
they're not.
sense is.
No, that's like comma spider
Yeah.
sense comma the ability to see the future. Another comma. And then I wrote, this is my note. Oh, this movie's like a web. Ooh, everyone's interconnected.
It's a web,
Oh,
and all it takes is a fucking toddler with a tantrum to tear it down.
yeah. So then it goes back to the teenagers in the woods, and of course, because they're teenage girls and incapable of uniting because they're teenage girls, and that's the trope, they're mocking each other and bitching at each other about one being nerdy, the other one being rich and neglected, and the other one avoiding sharing her life. And then, for some reason, niceness begins, and also like flirting,
Yeah,
because
I
Maddie.
think Aranya is supposed to be like bi-curious or something. They never
Is
said it, but
Aranya
that's
the
kind of
one
what
that
it.
I thought Maddie said she's cute when she's mad about Julia,
I think
whatever
that
the
was
fuck
the other
her
one,
name
but
is?
honestly, it's unimportant because
It
it means
doesn't matter.
nothing in this movie
Yeah, it
anyway.
drowns in the background and
It
it's
feels
never going to
like
get touched again because this film is going nowhere.
yeah, but they did talk about how none of them have like parents or responsible guardians, which exemplifies that I don't know how these girls are classified as abducted right now. That's important.
Yeah. Um again, I refer back to they were in the subway and they yelled,
In New York, like nobody
"She's
cares.
abducting us." And 50 feet away there was 3 police officers that are now incapacitated. So like I don't know how the information of this lady thieving these children became the story, but
Yeah,
whatever.
you can stab somebody on the subway and nobody will even find out about it for like
No,
several hours.
6 days. 6 days later, homeless man stabbed on the subway. It's a footnote in fucking anything. So they're like, let's go spend a quote, Maddie's daddy's pollution money. Say that 5 times fast.
Maddie's daddy's pollution money. Maddie's daddy's pollution money. Maddie's daddy's pollution money. I don't care anymore. But
So
I did want
they,
to point out that they built a fire and just left it.
yeah, they built a fire. They left it there, and then they sauntered through the woods until they found a diner. I don't know how they knew where that was, but
Well, they said like they saw a diner on their way there, but then
oh,
I don't
okay.
know why they didn't just go back up the road and walk there. They just decided
No, they
to
said let's
let's
go
just walk
straight
through
through
the
the woods.
woods.
It's
Yeah,
because one of them said that she had fucking Girl Scouts or something.
yeah. It can't be more than an hour and a half since Cassie left. She did say 3
Yeah.
hours.
Yes.
And the fire is still there. So cool, forest fire. That's awesome.
Yep. And then they spend a while at dinner, and for whatever reason, even though they're already there, Anya's like, "No, we can't have dessert. We need to go."
Yeah, I
And
didn't
then
write that down, but yeah, Brittany was fixated on that
just
too.
made
Like,
no
why
fucking
she's
sense. Like we just ordered the food and we're eating it and we're here, and
every
she's like, "Now we have to go."
they ordered a ton of food, like every
So
fucking
much food,
item on the
everything
menu.
on literally.
But then the pie, no, I don't
Yeah,
know.
no
I
pie
don't
for
know.
you, no soup for you. This
That's 2
then
Seinfeld references in this episode. It's a
turns. What
lot.
was the first one?
These pretzels are making me thirsty.
Oh yes,
It was a line from I don't remember. I don't like Seinfeld. I don't care.
I don't either. That's why I asked what
So
the
this
other
is
one
the
was.
most important scene in the movie. Period.
Yeah, so this scene turns into them sort of hazing Julia and
Oh, I didn't mean that scene. I mean like
no, no,
what was
no.
happening in the background.
What part was happening in the background?
So they're like, oh, there's some people, let's go flirt with them. But then some
Yeah.
trucker sees
Oh,
these
yes,
girls.
yes. I was getting there. Yeah, continue. This is my favorite part in the entire film,
God,
and I
it's
will
so
tell
good.
you why.
This trucker sees these girls and he notices that their photo is in the paper. The front page of the paper,
Says
CCTV
abducted
footage.
teenagers. Yeah.
And it is CCTV footage. It's impossible to fucking make out. Like, you can barely see the blurred faces. And then he's like, oh, I better call 911. I want to point out, it has been, for sure, less than 3 hours since this initial incident. How does this paper exist? How did it get printed
Yes.
and delivered in this time?
This is my
who reported
favorite
this?
part of this entire film. Who wrote this, printed it, and distributed it? Not like, even if it was the same day, it's a couple hours fucking later. And also,
It's printed press. No way. It's like the next day.
We have. I think this was their workaround to the fact that it's fucking 2003 and we don't have the modern technology to fucking have like a phone.
No, so around this time, like
They
2000,
couldn't have done like a TV news thing.
But in 2007, I was working manufacturing the newspaper. I did ad creation and distribution and all that. The paper doesn't get fucking edited and printed until that night. So this story would not have been fucking anywhere yet.
No.
It does not exist. Especially a vague police report of like, there might be an abduction. I don't know. That wouldn't be front page. That'd be like fucking 6th page maybe.
Yeah. In addition to, I just, there's so many ways that we could have done this, and it's called like a fucking TV broadcast. I don't know why we were like,
well, it was on
let's
the radio.
manufacture. Yeah, he could have been listening to the fucking radio or watching the TV in the diner. I don't know why he had to have a whole ass newspaper.
They could have just nixed this. It wouldn't have mattered. Like, and
no. Yeah, it could have just been.
If that trucker wasn't even in this scene, and there wasn't anybody to report it, and then something happens, like, I wouldn't have even questioned it. It would have been fine. Like, oh yeah, he found them.
Literally
Okay.
could have just been the diner has a security camera or something.
Yes, anything.
And then she saw them on video.
They're everywhere else for some reason in 2003.
Yeah. They're not around for a diamond heist, but they're everywhere in 2003.
Yeah, so he calls
That's
911 because, oh, this looks suspicious, this does. And I just read about this incident that happened an hour and a half ago, maybe. I don't know. So Ezekiel gets the 911 call.
And
then,
call?
thank you, intercepts. And then he pages the police and says, I'm a cop. Don't send backup. It's a false alarm.
Yeah. That's like no verification of fucking anything.
Cassie comes back to the empty camp. It has been possibly around 3 hours now, maybe, I guess. Sure, whatever. But she sees some trash and is able to figure out that they went to the diner and then follows through the woods just like they did. And
I thought she drove. Oh, no.
She drove there, but then she walked through the woods to the diner.
Yeah, I don't understand that.
Dude, it gets like in like 10 seconds, it's going to be like, I don't know why any of this. But okay, so she gets to the diner. She walks through the woods to the diner just in time for not Spider-Man to pop in and kill everyone as Britney Spears' Toxic plays. Like, he fucking wallops on everyone. But this is actually a vision of the future of things to come.
Shocker. It's easily one of the better iterations of future visions because it wasn't punctuated by like a loud sound. It had a song, which I thought was a neat way to do it.
I agree, yeah. It did feel kind of very Groundhog Day. But Cassie snaps back to reality and decides, oh, I'm going to jump in my car and get to the diner faster so that I can get there before not Spider-Man does. As the radio says, this tracker is going to be huge, and then Toxic begins playing again. Somehow, Cassie takes longer to drive to the diner than she did strolling through the woods.
Yes. I did not understand that at all.
There's a part that Brittany wouldn't shut up about where like she like is speeding past a truck, like she like cuts it off just to take a right-hand turn like past the truck. Like you could have waited.
It made no fucking sense.
Fuckers like that on the road.
Yeah, so she races against the slowest fucking time ever and should have been there 6,000 minutes before evil Peter gets there. And instead she gets there at the same time that he does and hits her with his car. Or hits him with her taxi that she stole.
Yeah, she drives into a diner with this stolen cab, and it is now wrecked. That's
Can we
important.
also point out that I guess we'll get there, but really we won't ever get there. At no point does the kidnapping or the Grand Theft Auto ever get addressed
No, it doesn't. It won't.
whatsoever.
A
So
good
she,
movie would.
yeah, she hits fucking evil Peter with the car and gets the girls out safely, but also gets poisoned.
Yeah. He touches her, and she gets poisoned, and
And then she
yeah,
yells at them in the cab because she's
I'm disappointed. Blah
disappointed
blah
and
blah.
closes the little cabbie talking window because she mad. And then this is where we find out that her last name is literally fucking Webb. Because his assistant's like, let me look up the bitch that they're with. He's like, oh, her name is Cassie Webb, and her mother is Constance Webb. Because this entire movie, you will constantly be looking at spider webs.
Yeah, you made that
And he
joke
goes,
already.
yeah, but this is where we learn her name. And then he's like, what's the last name?
Say that name again.
Yeah, not even the first and last name. He says, say that last name again. Webb. That's what you got stuck on? There's lots of people with the last name Webb, homie.
To be fair, I don't know a single fucking one. So,
Well, I don't know
I
why
mean,
he zoned in on
spider
that.
powers, like with spider powers, and seeing the future, and then knowing that these 3 spider girls are with this person, that name being Webb, like, has a much more of a possibility of being a connection of fate than a random person with the last name Webb. Like, I'll
Yes, I
give
would
him that.
agree.
I'll
I
give
just
that
thought it
there.
was odd because normally you know people by like first names, like when they're in the jungle. I don't
Yeah.
think he was calling her Mrs. Webb. He's probably just calling her Constance. So I would have thought like repeat that first name and been like, oh
Where's her
fuck, that's the
father?
bitch I shot.
They never talk
Who the
about the
fuck
husband.
knows? No, he never comes up whatsoever. He's a
Whatever.
mysterious.
They didn't bring
Maybe
it up,
he's the
so I won't
mysterious spider
either.
person. Yeah. So then we learn that Julia's mom is in a psych ward and she lives at Daddy's second family, and Daddy does not like this. Maddie says that her family also doesn't give a fuck. Cassie says, just go to the police, like, I don't want to take care of you. And Anya reveals that her dad got deported and her mom died when she was 5, so she needs to lay low until she won't be foster baby or deported.
I
So
did want
none
to
of
point
these
out,
kids
like, I
have
wrote
parents.
down that this scene is characters trauma dump in a motel room, and it's not even a little important. Also, Anya totally would not have been deported. That's not how that works.
I know. I was like, you're just like this movie is written like a 12-year-old wrote it and that doesn't understand how the world
Pick a
happens.
struggle.
Yeah. So none of these kids have parents or understand how laws work. So they ask Cassie for help. Cassie is deeply disturbed by the idea of adopting these children and has a dream that's connected with fucking Ezekiel.
Yeah. She literally says, like, this is your parents' problem, which is not Spider-Man killing them. And you're about to talk about the diner scene, right?
Yeah, where they have a weird lucid interconnected dream where
I put down Kylo Ren Force conversation because that's what it is.
Yeah, which it doesn't make any sense because I don't really feel like at any point. Well, I guess he has premonitions, so I suppose.
Kind of, I guess, sure, but like not the same. But I want
Yeah,
to point
I
out
don't
that
know.
the diner is emptied and taped up, meaning the cops have definitely been by, and it's baffling that they have not been able to track down an obviously
Yes,
bashed up taxi cab without license plate.
yes. Well, and in the scene, well, because she just has like a vision thing, but in the
I
vision, like
guess that that
the
that
cab is through the
stands.
window.
Yeah,
No, I had all these questions too, and then it ended up being a vision, and I was like, oh, she never actually left.
I'll
It's
just
just
erase
a
all that.
weird
Yeah,
manufactured fucking scene. Um, but in this, fucking evil Peter tells her his whole diabolical scheme of why he's trying to kill them, that he's poisoned her, and that they have powers in the future, and so she should just give him these children so he can murder them. And then I wrote, is her name Madam Webb because she's the brothel owner for these super powered children?
that's totally not how it's supposed to be, but in this,
It
yes.
kind of feels like it.
So she wakes up because it's not a dream anymore, and then she wakes them up. She explains the spider toxin to the girls,
And that it
and
stops your heart.
that chest compressions will offset the death that happens. So she
which
teaches
is
bad
not
CPR.
medical. Yeah, she spends 30 seconds teaching them CPR,
Yeah, this
but
goes
it
on
also
way
makes
too
no
long.
sense because I'm pretty sure, as I'm not a medical professional,
Snake
but
bite.
I'm pretty
Lay
sure
down.
that doing chest compressions does not stop poison from entering your heart or preventing it from killing you. I
I would
would think it
almost
would
think
make
that it
it
would.
faster.
Yeah, it would.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's how that works. So they have this dumb fucking bonding scene.
It's a long fucking scene too about like keeping the rhythm, which is funny because she never fucking did that for that other person. She was.
No,
It was intermittent chest compressions.
also it's literally like 30 seconds and then magically they're like, "Oh, like we're bonding." And she goes, "Let me show you a picture of my mom with the evil guy." And it's fucking weird. Story, and then
Yeah,
I put this movie has fucking batshit progression.
it's weird pacing for sure. It's funny that you say batshit progression because like the batshit progression hasn't even happened yet, which is this next
Oh, this
scene.
is like where it kicks off.
Yeah, we fast forward to Cassie leaving the girls with Ben so that they can be in hiding, so she can quickly just pop into Peru, really
Yes,
quickly.
because she's not wanted for abducting anybody.
Also worth pointing out, this is 2 years after 9/11.
Also
2 years
worth
after
pointing
9/11.
out that she has now made Ben an accomplice to kidnapping children and murdering police officers because that's what they think she did.
Yeah, but Ben
And
has the
Grand
hots
Theft
for her,
Auto.
kind of. So
Maybe. Unsure.
TBD.
But yeah. So none
So
of this makes any fucking sense. And she goes to Peru to find the spider people.
she just leaves them with Ben, despite knowing that Ezekiel is just finding them whenever.
Yes.
And then yeah, she is wanted, and this is 2 years after 9/11, so TSA is in full fucking force.
Yeah,
And
it's
she
not
just
easy to
fucking
just hop on a
leaves.
fucking plane. Yeah.
So she does
And
go to Peru and just walks into the Amazon and just walks to the river that matches the
I put
river in her mother's picture.
she just magically gets deep into the Amazonian jungle with all of the forestry skills that we've definitely seen her have.
Like, sure, somebody who stands this movie could definitely say, like, well, her visions led her there, and this is fate, and fate's
No,
taking
they
the
didn't.
wheel.
They
Shut up.
ham-fisted everything else. You cannot make assumptions that that's what's happening. So then she starts seeing visions of the spider dude because apparently there's only fucking one, even though it looks like multiple. And then the one dude shows up in not his weird red root outfit with the raised webbing and is just in normal clothes this time.
I named him Jungle Spider Clan Man.
Yeah, that's yep, fair. I think he has a name. I don't know if we ever actually know it.
It shows it in the subtitles. I saw it and I
It's
almost wrote it down,
Santiago.
but yeah, Santiago, thank you.
Yeah.
But he takes her to the pool that she was birthed in because, and then says literally, and I quote, "You have to go to the beginning and go past that," because he only knows how to speak riddles.
Also, before he started that, so on the way to the pool, he's explaining like the past and how she got to this present. And in part of that, she goes on to say that Ezekiel is cursed for taking the spider. But at no point did it like show him being cursed or explain why he would be cursed. So he's cursed how?
I put
By
2 and 2
karma?
together. Well, I put like 10 and 16 together.
Yeah.
And that the curse is that he's getting the premonitions of his death, and which is going to lead to
Yes.
his death. Like
I
that's the
assume
curse.
that's
But
what it is. How did he come about being cursed? Because you're the only spider person. We didn't see you curse him.
it's stupid because like, oh, I have these super strong spider powers, but I'm cursed. I'm going to die in the future.
Yeah.
No shit. Everybody's
all?
going to die in the future.
Yep.
So, then Santiago fucking Doctor Stranges her soul.
Oh, yeah. Just throws her soul into her birthing pool.
Yeah, and then making her see the past where her mom's looking at the spider web again, and then says, "Why do you hate me?"
Yeah, Cassie's, because her mom feels the contraction. And she's like, "I'm not going to let you stop me from finding the spider." And Cassie's like, "Why did you hate me so much?" And then she sees her mom die. And while her mom's dying, her mom's like cradling her stomach, being like, I'm so sorry, apologizing to her unborn fetus.
Then we see a vision before that of her mother speaking to a doctor, and the doctor revealing that the baby has myasthenia gravis, just like the comics. So props there.
Finally interconnected.
Yeah, and then says that life expectancy varies which is life. But her mother then says, well, what are the treatment options? And the doctor says there are no treatments. And then she fucking pulls a Google doctor anti-vax alternative medicine bullshit with, well, I read studies about the Amazon jungle, to which the doctor responds, I don't recommend going to the fucking Amazon jungle. And she's just, I'm going to go find a spider anyway. You can't stop me.
So this is where we learn that her mom is not like some lady that has spent her life studying this spider. She just fucking like Googled it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was like, all right.
So Cassie's like, you did it, Mom. Sorry, I was mad. And then hugs her vision, who hugs her back. Whatever. But I want to know, why didn't the mother write anything regarding her daughter's condition in the journal? There was no paperwork for it anywhere.
Well, because she had never heard of this fucking spider before her Google session, so she had to catch up on a whole lot of fucking research and didn't have time to journal.
I mean, I feel like a journal's like something you find in a video game or a movie to provide context of like, I'm looking for the spider to cure my child. Like, that would have been written down fucking somewhere.
Yeah, it probably would have been better than a fucking vision, but whatever. She had a nice, beautiful soul bonding moment, and her soul returned to her body.
So then she snaps back to reality. Oh, there goes gravity. And Jungle Spider Clan Man tells her that if she masters her powers, she can use the web to be in more than one place at the same time. So he's predicting having multiple tabs open in Chrome. Yeah. And then this fucker, this goddamn, he has the nerve. He has the nerve to say, when you take on the responsibility, great power will come.
Yeah,
they believe that?
Reverse the line. Oh, I wonder if she tells Ben that and Ben just like edits it to be better. When she gets back, she's like, yeah, so I met Jungle Spider-Man and this happened. And then later he's like, Peter, with great power comes great responsibility.
I like to think...
Wait, fuck, that's not the line?
Yeah, I like to think that he just is like misremembering it. He's like, you see, with great power comes great responsibility or whatever.
Oh, shit, he said it the other way, didn't he?
Or was it? No, that's right. That's right.
Yeah. And then we see Ezekiel getting super annoyed that he can't kill 3 teenage girls, which talk about a Greek tragedy forming as he rapidly tries to avoid his future of dying. He's going to be killed some other fucking way.
Every day that goes by, my appointment with death grows closer. He literally fucking says. Again,
Same
dubbed
with
over.
all of
Everything's
us.
dubbed on this scene. I don't know.
You would have lived longer. So we move to a scene of them at Ben's sister-in-law's house, which also made me laugh because he has now made them accomplices to kidnapping these children and the murder of police officers and Grand Theft Auto, but whatever.
Yeah. And Ben looks out the window and says, looks like it's still quiet out there. I imagine this has to be a couple days later, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This has to be. At least
the
a week.
Previous scene when Ezekiel's super annoyed that he can't find the girls, his assistant's like, they haven't popped up anywhere near their houses.
Brittany pointed this out, but the house that they're in, Ben's house, it's the same house from the Tobey Maguire movies. Potentially. I didn't actually check.
I didn't notice that. I don't know. Fact checker.
She's not going to look it up, and I don't care enough.
No, it's fine. This movie will cease to exist in my brain immediately.
I know. I need to get all this out, and then it's going to go away. So Mary goes into labor. Oh, no. Peter Parker is getting birth right now as we speak. So they all jump into the car to drive to the hospital because you fucking have to go to the hospital. This isn't Pioneer time. And Maddie is definitely like fucking sticking her head out the window like a dog. So Ezekiel definitely fucking gets pinged that she's out there. And this part sucks. It's a little different than the rest of the movie.
This whole scene is hodgepodge and weird.
Cassie comes back and realizes that they're gone by seeing a puddle through the window. And then she has a vision.
Not even like note on the door or just a future vision or something where she can piece it together. It's like a weird, like, oh, I looked at the past and I heard the past, saw the puddle, looked into the future.
Like, I definitely would have been like, oh, somebody dropped an ice cube there like an hour ago. Okay.
Yeah.
It happens at my house all the time. So she's like, oh, I need to go get them because she sees a vision. She's still driving the cab. I want to point this out. why does she still have that? How did she just
How
take
if
that
the
to the
police
airport
not...
and then leave it for several days at
And
least?
again, the police aren't looking for her, despite the fact that the newspaper went so far out of their way to print about this abduction
They
happening.
fucking they made that priority one, and then
I
were like,
refer back
it's
to
Tuesday. I don't care now.
in the scenes where they want it to be, it's hyper heightened, and then when it's not helpful, it's way on the bottom of everyone's fucking to-do list to deal with.
But she's about to get into the cab to drive to where Ezekiel is going to attack, but an ambulance happens to stop next door for an emergency. So she steals that instead?
Because she couldn't just use the cab.
Fuck that guy, I guess. You're gonna die. But we already know that, because they made a big point, we already know that traffic doesn't stop for ambulances, so this whole thing feels useless.
Yeah, it's kind of irrelevant. And then we get a nice scene of fucking Ezekiel's assistant, who I don't think is ever fucking named, but also
Doesn't
I don't
matter.
keep track of people's names ever, if you can't tell from any of our previous movies. And she's just like casually hacking into traffic control and changing the lights.
Yeah. Yeah, she changes them all to green so that it causes an accident. But this part, like, Ben hits another car and then, like, looks up and says, "What's that?" None of you are in a position to see up on the fucking
No.
Times Square.
No.
It's not Times Square. It's like a Times Square adjacent thing. But none of them can see what he's pointing at. They're in a car. Have you ever, like, looked up at something in the backseat of a car? No.
No.
It doesn't happen.
I'm surprised he can even see it, because
Yeah,
it
he's
was kind
like,
of
"What's
off to the
that?"
side, too. And then in this scene, it was kind of hard to tell what the fuck was going on.
I had to watch it several times to
Yes,
make
it
it
was
out,
a
'cause I'm
very
like,
confusing scene.
What the fuck?
Ezekiel, like, drops down on the car and then is gonna drop a grenade on the car?
Yeah.
Of all the methods to murder people in a car?
Yeah, it's because he doesn't have spider powers here.
What?
I don't fucking know, Rachel. I didn't fucking write this
That's not a
garbage fucking
satisfactory
movie.
answer. Yeah, I don't really know what the fuck happens with that. And then she drives the ambulance like through a wall so that she's over the car wreck.
Yeah, the first time I saw this, she just fucking drove through a building on like the 3rd floor, and I had to rewind to make sure that she does drive like through a parking garage to like a floor up and then drives through that. But I didn't fucking see that the first time, and I'm like, what do you mean you just drove through a building?
I didn't see that either. I just kind of assumed that must be what happened based off of the fact that she's now driving through a fucking cement wall, which I don't think structurally this would have happened this way.
Yeah.
And then the part that was interesting to me is she only hits him with the ambulance because he jumps into the front of the ambulance.
I want to point out that Spider Sense would have allowed this to not happen. That's
also,
how Spider
he was
Sense works.
Staring at it as it came at him, and just as a human being, I would have tried to duck, not jump into it.
I mean, there is such a thing as
whatever.
deer in the headlights, but again, Spider Sense is like perfectly tailored for situations like this, where you're like, you can see things, you know how gravity works, you know physics, and you're like, I'm able to move here and not get hit by this giant
There's
object.
no fucking physics in this movie, so.
There really isn't, no.
And then, I don't know how she's like fucking alive and able to walk after shooting a fucking ambulance out of the 3rd floor of a parking structure, but she's chilling.
She gets in a lot of car wrecks in this movie.
Yeah, and just not a scratch the entire fucking time. And then now that she knows that her mom loved her, she's totally fine with bonding with these kids. With these kids.
So she tells Ben and Mary to just go to the hospital because Ezekiel's not going to follow them. They're going to follow her and the girls, which she corrals them all into the ambulance and then drives away, which starts the worst car chase sequence I've ever had. Because Ezekiel doesn't have spider web, so he's just jumping from car to car towards the ambulance. There's no fucking way that would work. And then...
Oh, they do the best thing ever.
I
refer back to there's no fucking physics in this entire film. Everything is broken.
Yeah. Madam Webb sees this Ezekiel in the rearview mirror jumping towards their ambulance, and then she says, "Quick, charge the AED." No one knows what that is. No one questions it. They're like, "Oh," so they grab the defibrillator and start charging it. She then instructs them to not touch the sides while they are fucking defibrillating the car. Ezekiel jumps on it. They defibrillate the car. Ezekiel, he gets shocked.
Which also doesn't make any sense because, like, if they can shock the roof of the car and it shocks him, at no point does she, like, release her hand and foot off of the wheel and the pedal, and the kids are sitting on the ground. So I'm like, I'm pretty sure if we're going to go with this thing is capable of shocking this entire vehicle, that's not, would they also not be shocked?
I don't know. Rubber soles. What do you want from me?
Who the fuck? No, they were. I don't fucking know. None of it makes any fucking sense.
Yeah. So the ambulance runs out of gas or something, so it's no longer usable. And then Cassie gets a crazy detailed vision of the future, and then goes into like mega plan mode, where she's like, "I have control over the future." So she calls for airlift support, and dispatch is like, "Sure, no problem, no questions here. Yeah, it's on its way." This ambulance wasn't reported missing 10 minutes ago.
Mm-hmm.
So
and
she
then
gives...
I was going to say, there's a nice line that keeps getting repeated so that we can shove the concept of, like, bonding and comedic lightness down your throat, where they go, and now you're showing off every time she does something.
Yeah, I forgot to write that down, but my second time watching the movie, I was like, why do they keep saying, now you're just showing off? It's not even...
No, it's written so fucking horribly.
It's not good, Rachel.
No, it's so bad.
I don't know if you thought about... It's not good.
No.
So she gives road flares to the girls and says to put them in crates. Like, they run into like this warehouse that's just a warehouse right now.
This is the warehouse where there was the giant fire and shit earlier.
Oh, yes, it was, because
she repeats the exact same fucking sentence that a previous character said of, it's full of explosives and structurally unsound.
Yeah.
Almost exactly like that.
Yeah, it's full of fireworks, just so you know. But she knows what's going to happen, so Ezekiel finds them and starts like hunting them, because this is kind of a horror movie sometimes, which could be a good idea, but that's not what they went with. But then the flares start setting off all the fireworks. Fireworks start blowing up everywhere. A firework breaks a brick wall big enough so that the girls can run through it. And they make their way to the roof where a giant neon Pepsi sign is. There is so much product placement in this movie for refreshing, cool Pepsi products.
Oh, also, before they get up to the Pepsi sign, there's like a whole moment on the loading dock where a piece of the like loading dock box type metal gets broken off, and she gets like a Captain America fucking shield
that happens
going on.
That happens on the roof.
Oh, okay, there you go. Sorry, I didn't remember where the fuck it happened. I thought it was...
Yeah, explosions are nonstop, and then like you said, there's a piece of metal just like whizzes past her and hits the wall. So she picks it up and then uses it at like Captain America style to block shrapnel made of the same stuff, because
that makes so much sense. Yeah, to just deflect everything.
And then fucking Jungle Spider Clan man literally says, "Use the web, Luke," to her.
My favorite part is also the helicopter that like came to get them being like, "It's not safe to land. Get higher," as the ground is fucking exploding.
Yeah.
Like, yes, get higher. Climb this sign that's falling into the water.
So Ezekiel shows up and then knocks a firework into the helicopter, which promptly explodes. They're dead. And then there's like a scene, I don't even know what to call it. It's not like a fight scene, because it's just him jumping on people and hitting them.
Yeah.
He jumps on Cassie and takes his mask off. I don't know why he has a mask, let alone a costume, in this movie.
No, considering he constantly switches back and forth between being in the costume and just being himself while harassing them, I was like, what the fuck is the point, dude?
I don't know, but everyone's trying to attack Ezekiel while he's beating on Cassie, but he hits them all back, and they're now struggling and hanging off the building into the center of where all the fire and fireworks are happening, because this is a superhero movie, and that's like a very superhero trope.
And he says the most villainous thing ever of... You can't save all three.
But Cassie
Shocker. She
hears the
can.
words, with great responsibility comes great power, which is still fucking wrong, but this allows her to multi-future?
She spirit tentacles
She
herself.
astral projects 3 ways to help the girls to her feet. Right here in the movie, Brittany turns and asks, "Is that how that works?" To which I said the nay. So Cassie is leading Ezekiel into some Chekhov's gun situation involving the giant Pepsi sign because they pan to the sign like 8 times. Like she's like eyeing it as he's getting closer.
Yeah, and he does not think about that at all.
He can kind of see the future, but I guess not. So
just the one future that involves him dying in a different way. Apparently he was very, very blind to this one.
Yeah, he lunges at her, and she's able to fucking work it so that she falls into the water, and he falls to the ground, where he's crushed by the P in Pepsi, because nothing stamps out the stale flavor of evil more than cool, refreshing Pepsi.
Buy Pepsi products at your nearest grocery store or gas station.
So
this episode was not sponsored by Pepsi.
I'd like it to. I don't mind Pepsi. I mean, it's evil, but I don't mind it.
Also, when she kills him, she does a very it felt like a very Scar, Simba killing Scar scene, where he does he's on his back flailing around.
Oh yeah,
it's very red underneath him. It was totally like Scar falling into the abyss.
He doesn't even try to do a flip or something, which is something Spider-Man can do to try to land on his feet. Nothing like that.
Yeah,
he's
just given up.
So she falls into the water, and then a firework just pegs her in the face. And she's just in the water, and then it just goes.
Yeah, she gets fucking annihilated. Because initially when she falls into the water, I'm like, this bitch isn't even gonna try to swim. She's just decided she's dead now. And then she gets hit with the firework, and I was like, oh, okay.
I think it was more of I did it. She's kind of taking a pseudo victory siesta before swimming.
Yeah, I love taking pseudo victory siestas underwater where I can't breathe. It's my favorite spot for them.
But she drowns again. But hey, listen to this. The girls, they know chest compressions.
I want you to know.
Other Chekhov's gun in this movie.
The second they did the CPR scene in the hotel, I was like, this is how they're going to save her life at the end of the film.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be from the venom poisoning her, though, because...
Yeah, no, we never touched base on that at all.
Which they call it poison. That's not poison. That's venom. That's different. Poison is something you ingest to get poison. That's not... If something does it to you, that's venom. Sorry. Semantics.
No, but they have an entire scene where he tells her that once you've been injected, it's only a matter of time. It's just if it's less injection, it'll happen slower, and it's never addressed again.
I don't remember that, but I don't have the patience or the willpower to even contest it.
It's in the diner scene. He tells her that he poisoned her.
I'm not contesting it. You can stop now. So the girls do chest compressions. Oh no.
Shocker.
She's revived and has white eyes and light scratches around her eyes. This isn't 2 years later, by the way. This is immediately after drowning. It should look way worse. She was fucking nailed with a firework in her face.
Yeah, her face should be fucked up.
Yeah, it looks like she kind of jumped through a window maybe and got a couple scratches around her eyes, but her eyeballs are pure white now.
Yeah, so whatever the fuck that is.
So she's blind now, just like in the comics. So there's that, I suppose. And we wake up at the hospital where the girls are making jokes about how Mary had the baby and Ben doesn't have the parent, or how Jesus. Mary has the baby.
What just happened to you?
This is a lot. This movie's a lot. So Mary had Peter. They don't say Peter because fuck it. But they're making jokes about how Ben doesn't have to parent the child because he's the uncle and he gets to have all the fun and none of the responsibility. To which Cassie says, that's what he thinks because she can see the future. Get it? Spider-Man. So we fast forward to Cassie living with the girls, and now she's the most annoying roommate ever because she just knows everything that's gonna happen.
Oh
Like
yeah,
she's
she
like
fucking sucks,
she's
dude.
like bless you to somebody who's about to sneeze before they happen, and also the future is so bright that she has to wear shades.
Oh, also, I'm sorry. Had stopped reading my notes, but I wrote Cassie is blind because you can't see the future if you can see the present.
I went with the 80s song joke, but yeah, both apply.
She reaches like soothsayer zen
Which
in
is
her
more yeah,
annoying roommate era.
which is more Madam Web like than you know this movie provided. Um, so then it shows like the future, and they show all the girls, including Madam Web, in costume, and they say some line about how the future hasn't happened yet. Which no shit, that's how the future works. And
It's
then
yeah.
Dreams by the Cranberries play the movie out, and it does not deserve to be here. This song is universally liked, and I feel like it was put here specifically to offset the bad taste from this movie, unlike the great refreshing taste of Pepsi Cola. Like, you're supposed to, because this song is a good song, you're supposed to leave the movie going, that wasn't as bad as I remember because I like that song. Like,
Yeah, they
the
wanted the
last,
credits to really drive any sensation home.
yeah, the last bite you have is the best bite. So you're like, good meal.
It's like eating a rotten apple, but the very end of it was still okay.
Yeah, yeah, which you're like, that was still a rotten apple. We're not stupid, Sony.
Yeah, it still tasted fucking terrible.
There are 0 after credit scenes, and I could not be happier.
I did not even bother to check the second the credits rolled. I didn't even listen to the song at the end. I emotionally left that film
It's the
so
Cranberries. It's a
fast.
great song, but yeah.
No, I know what you're talking about, but I was like, nah, I'm out.
Yeah, I
Also, side
fast
note,
forwarded it, and there was nothing, and I'm like, good.
all the girls just like live at her house now. Like she just like perma kidnapped them, and they now have Stockholm syndrome.
Like, one of them, their parents are never around. The other one, the parents are missing. The father got deported or something. And then the one girl is like a stepdaughter, so she does have tangible parents and a little brother, but whatever.
The tangible parents.
I don't
They
know.
do exist.
They're there. So just like this movie ending with a good song, let's try to end this just awful episode with a good song.
With a good
eh?
song. Way to lead into that one.
Thank you. This week I'm going to be recommending Scissor Sisters. It's a good band.
Okay.
You know them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which song?
Specifically, I'm going to be recommending Filthy/Gorgeous. It's a fucking bop. It's got a good funky bass line to it. It's very catchy.
Filthy/gorgeous.
Yes. And the thing I love most about Scissor Sisters is that
They scissor and they're sisters.
well, I think Scissor Sisters, the name is referring to like a serial killer twin duo thing. I don't know. I didn't look it up, but the thing I like about their music is that it's very like, oh, this is like a good funky new disco kind of groovy beat, and then oh, this is New Orleans ragtimey music. Okay, like that's their two ranges, and they're great ranges.
Yeah, it is. Okay, I have a song suggestion for you, and I want you to know that I'm going to tell you nothing about this song. It's called
Okay.
Stone Killer by 26 Fix, and all you need to know is the album art.
What's the album art?
I'll send you a picture of it.
Oh, fact checker, thank you. The American pop band Scissor Sisters took their name from the female same-sexual activity tribadism, also known as scissoring, which is slang term for the sex position.
Because we didn't know that already.
Well, I knew what scissoring was, but the band's name also refers to lesbians, and their songs are often about drag queens, drugs, and cruising. That album art looks like some fucking "Don't hug me, I'm scared" shit.
Yes, it does. If I recall correctly, it is also an enjoyable song, but I've added it specifically to the list because I was like, Gamage needs to see this.
It feels like one man in a costume with two heads hugging himself.
Yeah, it does. And that's about the amount of uncomfortable I am looking at it.
Link
I don't
that
like it
song
at
because
all.
I'll definitely listen to it. What was it called
Oh,
again?
yeah. Stone Killer 26 Fix. I'll send it to you right now.
And Scissor Sisters, Filthy/Gorgeous.
Yep.
And that was our show.
And that was We have that podcast at home.
It was Madam Web. She was a madam. She webbed.
Indeed.
There's things in between, but I mean,
that's kind of all you need to know is that there's constant webs, and she's now a madam.
Like, okay,
of a
here's what
halfway
you do.
house
Here's
for
what you
these
do.
children.
Go home, turn on your computer, open up a Word document, and then begin typing what you think the movie Madam Web would be about. Congratulations, you've written a better movie than Madam Web.
We're all very, very proud of you. Can you please use your new screenplay to wipe this off the face of the fucking earth?
Like, I hate hating this, you know? Because it's Spider-Man, and I love all Spider-Man, but, like, Sony's, like, really trying to make bad. This feels like money laundering for rich people.
Yeah, it's just, like, it's not even, like, worth disliking. It's so bad.
But also, there's, like, so many people who, like, disingenuously dislike these kinds of things because, there's minorities and gay people and girls.
And women power.
And women. Oh, and it sucks, like, standing on the same side as they are going, yeah, the movie does suck, huh? It feels
it's not
it feels
for the
dirty.
reasons you think, but it does suck.
It's awful.
Well, thank you guys for enduring the description of Madam Web. I promise you it was significantly more enjoyable than actually watching this film. If you liked what you heard, or you just fucking hate us, or you hate fucking Madam Web, please like, subscribe, and download on whatever your most favorite is podcasting places.
This podcast, not Madam Web. This podcast,
yes.
Not
oh my
Madam
God,
Web.
Don't waste your time on Madam Web, please. Let us save your soul from that experience. If you would like us to talk about a thing, if you want to recommend music, if you'd like to recommend a movie that is possibly more horrible than Madam Web, please email us at whtpah@gmail.com. That's whoopah@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Instagram at We Have That Podcast at Home. Our fact checker posts fantastic photos in relation to our episode each week. And we are on Blue Sky at WHTPAH. That's again Woodpuh on Blue Sky, and I do actually post things on there.
Oh, neat.
That's officially happened.
What kinds of things are you posting?
I posted my version of a Gamage Thought. It's definitely not as good as your versions of Gamage Thoughts, but it was an attempt.
I'm sure it's fine, and I don't care, and I'm not looking, so congrats.
Yeah, I figured you wouldn't be double checking my work, so yeah. Next week we will be tackling the fine art of true crime.
True crime.
I've been Off-Brand Rachel.
And I've been Off-Brand Gamage, and this has been We Have That podcast at home.
Home. Love you.
Bye.
Bye.